Hi, and welcome back. I'm Mary Jo, also known as Sojo, and this is my channel where I talk about all my quilty stitchy things. And today is my weekly update number 50, and it is January 28, 2024. So this is where I talk about everything that I've worked on and completed throughout the week. But before we get started, I do want to apologize if you hear any banging or yelling in the background. I got a little bit of a home motor repair going on. But it's okay. It's all good. Just a minor thing. Easy fix. So, what did I quilt this week? Well, it's already hanging up. This is the quilt behind me. Now, this was the Country Roads quilt pattern. And this pattern I got from a shop hop over in Indiana. I think it was about a year ago we went over there. And it was done with, well, it's a 5-inch or a charm pack friendly quilt. I had used a layered cake and cut it in fours. Plus I added a few other 5-inch squares from some yardage. So the size I made required 200 5-inch squares. And according to the pattern, it measures 77 by 93. And I had used a Blissful layer cake and bought yardage for the borders and stuff. And when I quilted it this week, I quilted it with a paisley pantograph because some of those fabrics have paisleys in them. So we'll go in, take a closer look. So there's a look at some of those paisleys. And there's the paisley fabric. Going up and over. And we'll take a look at that back. And that was the backing I had used. So when I quilted it with a light gray thread. I was kind of debating on what to use. If I used the white, then that white was going to show a lot in some of those darker fabrics. So I didn't want to go with a white. So I used the gray, which kind of helps blend in with that navy fabric. Now the backing, it just so happened, I don't know, I think it was the end of December I saw that Missouri Star had that particular backing. Well, it wasn't a backing. It was yardage on sale at 3-yard cuts. And I bought 2 3-yard cuts and was able to use it because it's the same fabric from the same fabric line. So that's what I got. So that's what I quilted on the long arm this week. So I can mark another quilt that I quilted for my 50 quilts this year. So I'm now up to 5 out of the 50 that I set for my goal this year. So I didn't finish any tops this week, but that's okay. So I've quilted 5 this year and I've finished 4 quilt tops. So I'm 1 ahead, right? Yeah, because those quilt tops, they just keep, the piling just keeps adding up. Okay, so let's take a look at what I worked on for piecing. So last week I had shown my empty penitens. Well, let me take the seam rippers out. You can't really see. I've got pins in it this week, so I'm starting to get some of them back. It's like all of my pins are in projects. Okay, so I worked on this Night Light quilt pattern from Villa Rosa Designs, and it has a dinosaur pattern for it. Now this was a quilt kit that I'd bought over at Tree City Stitches in Indiana a while ago. So here where we are. I'm now making those into 4 patches, and then once I get all these 4 patches sewn together, you can start putting them into a quilt for all those dinosaurs. So yep. Just got all those pins stacked, and all of them are pinned and stacked, ready to sew for when it's its turn in the rotation to go to the sewing machine. So that's the first thing I worked on. I also worked on this sew sampler project. This Moncherie quilt pattern. So I've got all of these strip sets sewn together with all the borders. The hearts were sewn together and put together. So now I'm starting to put them together with the sashing strips. So here, let's see. That I got some sashing strips on both sides of the hearts. We got this because those will go up and down, and so on and so forth through. Because if you look at the pattern, some of these are up vertical and some of them are horizontal. And it's 3 different rows basically. So I've started putting all the sashing strips in there, and I've got all of that pinned together, ready to go. So they're all pinned together in the row forms. So I worked on that. And I worked on this legendary quilt pattern by Elizabeth Hartman. Now this Bigfoot has already been done, so I started working on the trees. So I started doing all the flip and stitch down the one side. So now I have to do all the flip and stitch on the other side. And I've also made the stems for the trees. So here's my Bigfoot block to show again. That's my Bigfoot block. Got all the stems made. There we go. For the trees. And then all of these stitch and flips, which will be sewn together to make the trees. Now, in her pattern, she has all the same green for all those. I don't. I have different greens in here. So my trees are going to be very scrappy looking when they're all done and put together. So I worked on that. And get that out of the way. And I worked on this half pack quilt. And this is 5 half-yard cuts of a pack in a quilt shop, and then you can pick a free pattern. And this was the pattern that I'd picked. So it's just a bunch of pinwheels and strips. Real easy quilt. So I've got a bunch of half square triangles, and I've started to pin them together for that pinwheel. Like I said before, I'm going to take this pin out because these are my 4 that go together to make the pinwheel. There's the top of the pinwheel. There's the bottom of the pinwheel. Those are sewn together. And when I take them to the sewing machine, I'll just do, you know, that chain stitching all the way down, one pinwheel after another. So when it's its turn to go to the sewing machine, that's what I'll do. Worked on that. And there's only one other quilt I worked on this week. And it is what took the most amount of time. And that is this paper piecing. Let me pull it out. This is the Summer Solstice pattern. This is by Judy Niemeyer, this paper piecing. Now, I am working on these 4 corners. The center of this is all done. And it is worked in 4 different quadrants. And then after you do the 4 quadrants, you put them together to sew them. Now, so I'm working on the 4 corners. And each of these 4 corners has 6 different paper piecing pieces in it. And each piece, well, so there's the D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, and D6 for each corner. And these pieces are very, very big. And it makes it very difficult to work with in the throat space. And I have a larger throat space, but with the big pieces, it just makes it difficult. And it's a lot of time consuming. So I worked on D3 this week, and I've got all 4 of these done. And I cut them down, trimmed them. This is D3. And I had already done all 4 of the D1s. So next time I work on this, I will do the D2s. And if I can, I'll pull out just one of these pieces here for the center that I've got put together. Now everything is all cut out. It's just a matter of sewing everything together. So it's getting there. Still working on it. Still making progress. It's just taking a lot of time. Now, because I was trying to time how long it was taking me to do one of those pieces, those D3 pieces. It was taking me anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours just to do the sewing on one of those pieces. Part of it is just because they're so long and big and hard to work with. But we're making it work. Okay, so that is everything I've worked on as far as quilting this week. Let's move on to... Oh, last week I had asked about my What Will You Make series, where I take pre-cuts and make something. And I asked what everybody would like to see. And Vera Weeks was the first person that commented and said she wanted a jelly roll to comment about that. So I'm like, okay, so we're going to do a jelly roll. This is the jelly roll I'm going to use. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get to this week or it'll be the following week probably, because I got other things going on this week. But this jelly roll is probably my oldest jelly roll that I have in my stash. And this is Wild Nectar by Crystal Manning. So I've got a lot of stuff that's come in lately. Matter of fact, I got 4 boxes over there I'm going to do some videos on. So since I got all this new stuff, I need to get rid of the old, right? So I needed to make something. And I know this is my oldest jelly roll that I have because when I used to buy these, all my pre-cuts, I kept these lists that had the name of the line, what kind of pre-cut it is, what pattern I was going to use, because as soon as I'd get it, I'd figure out a pattern for it. All lined up, and I put like the month and the day I bought it. Now, I didn't put the year. It would have been helpful, but I didn't. When I first started doing them, like, there's no reason to put the year because I'm going to get to it before then. Well, that didn't happen. But so I don't exactly know what year it is, but I do know this is my oldest jelly roll. So that's what I'm going to do with that. Now, I quit writing on that list about when I'd get the pre-cuts, what they were, and I'd pick out a pattern to get it around 2020. So I don't do that anymore. Okay, so cross stitch. My cross stitch fell on the floor here. So I am working on this Words to Live By cross stitch. Now this is 13 different parts. I have done basically the center and all of this. So I'm just working on this bottom row. So I finished this week the Keep Your Face to the Sunshine and You Cannot See a Shadow over here. And I started working on this one down here, which is Stay Humble, Work Hard, Be Kind. So here is where we're at. And this is worked on a very large piece of 14 count Aida. There we go. So, yep, I finished that one, and now I'm down here working on that. Now, let's move on to my crochet. So, I am working on this cardigan. Let me find the picture. There it is. This Gracie slouchy cardigan. That's what I'm working on. So, let's see. The back panel has been done. Just the back panel. And the front panels are both done. That's a front panel. And that's a sleeve. There's the other front panel. And I finished one sleeve. This would be the sleeve. And I just started working on the second sleeve. So there's the cuff down there. So just started on that second sleeve, so I have to finish that second sleeve, and then there's a neckband, and then I can start sewing it all together and finish the trim on it. So that's where I am with that. And one other thing, and then I'm done. And that is my diamond painting. I finished my diamond painting. And that's what it looks like. Okay, so that's everything I worked on this week. Till next time.